So after the release of Pokemon the Movie 2000, Pokemon the third movie was released a year later. And wow, that is a dumb title. Yeah, one of the things 4Kids did with their dubs of the movies for a while was to give it a really fucking dumb title. It happened with the Mewtwo movie, the Lugia movie, and now here. It wasn't until movie 5 that they finally started to put in effort when it came to titling the films. But bitching aside, does the film do a better job than Pokemon the Movie 2000? Let's find out. The film starts off by having a father, Spencer Hale, reading a story to his daughter, Molly Hale. And holy crap is this guy loaded! The two of them live in a big mansion, they got servants/maids, and this guy's even able to buy Pokemon-themed products for his daughter. I imagine that shit is not cheap. Anyways, while he's reading the story, we get to see our legendary for the film, Entei, a badass fire lion. I said badass fire lion! Oh, and we also see Unknown, which Spencer Hale has been trying to find for a while, but he's not a legendary despite what this movie claims. After that, Spencer plays with his daughter for a bit before getting an email from his assistant telling him that they located something and he needs to get over there soon. We then cut over to a desert where Spencer and his assistant are going inside some ruins. But while inside, Spencer finds an Unknown in terrible CGI! But even if they look like shit, they are able to drag Spencer into another dimension. Don't worry about it, Spencer. It's not like you have anyone waiting for you or anything. Ooh, this sucks. Yeah, you might want to break out the deck of cards then, man. This'll be a while. So, yeah, Spencer's in another dimension, and Molly is naturally distraught over this. So, what does she do? Takes the tiles with the Unknown on it that were retrieved during the expedition and lays them on the ground. What? Wouldn't you do that? So by using the tiles, she spells out a few words and they begin to glow. This opens up a portal in the ruins, and a swarm of Unknowns emerge from it, leave the ruins, and then they open a portal. Wait, when did this movie come out in the States? Oh, okay, now it totally makes sense. Also, they can crystallize shit. Why? I don't know, but it's a thing. Oh, and they can create illusion Pokemon, like an Entei to basically fill the missing father role in Molly's life. We then cut over to Ash, Misty, and Brock walking down a road that leads to the town of Greenfield, and they run into a character named Lisa. And because we haven't seen opening credits yet, despite being 10 minutes into the movie, here's a fight. After that, we then get some information on the town of Greenfield, which is where Spencer/Molly live. And they decide to go there. Once they arrive, they see that the entire town is nearly covered in crystals. Wow! Didn't know you guys were that hyped for Pokemon Crystal. But this crystallization does not go unnoticed as the TV news crew shows up to report it, and then we cut to Pallet Town, where Delia and Mr. Mime are watching the report. After that, she goes to her refrigerator, and we see photos of her, Professor Oak, Ash, and the Hale family. Okay, this is good. They're trying to make her relevant to the plot. Same with Professor Oak, who we also see watching the report. It seems like the writers learned their lesson from before. I mean, they wouldn't be stupid enough to not do much with this concept, right? So the two of them head over to Greenfield to investigate the crystallization. Meanwhile, in the Crystal Tower, or whatever the fuck it's called in this movie, Molly is observing the actions going on outside and remembers Delia. She tells Entei she also wants a mother, and Entei agrees. Okay, so do we finally get to see Molly's mother? Throughout this movie thus far, she's been absent, so it'll be nice to see the Unknowns bring her here. Or, if she's dead, create an illusion Pokemon to fill that missing mother role. There are so many ideas here! So, what do they go with? Entei hypnotizes Delia and captures her. Yes, I am serious. They were able to create an illusion Pokemon to fill the role of Molly's father, but no guys, just kidnapping her is much better. Now, I know some people may argue that if Delia wasn't kidnapped, they wouldn't bother going to the tower, but here's my response to that. Let's take a step back and play What If. Instead of Delia getting kidnapped, have the Unknowns create a Pokemon to fill the mother role and then crystallize some more parts of the town. Then cue Molly's message that takes place a little later on in the actual film. But this time, have the Entei and the mother Pokemon in the frame as well to cement the point that she is still holding on to those memories of her family being together. Then have Delia and Oak recognize Molly, and then they go with Ash's group to try and bring Molly to her senses. Then cue the rest of the movie. Except instead of just Ash making it to the top, have Delia and Oak with him. That way, the scene with Delia and Molly that occurs near the end of the film can still take place, and she does something in this movie that doesn't involve her getting kidnapped. Because seriously, writers, was the only reason you included Delia was just to have her get kidnapped? Because that's dumb. We then see the crystallization spread, and Professor Oak becomes Professor Exposition for the rest of the film, as he just explains shit and doesn't do much else. So Ash and the others go to the tower, but Team Rocket decides to use their balloon to reach the tower instead of heading there on foot. Spoiler alert, they get blasted out of the sky. But don't worry guys, they'll have a bigger part later. So Ash and his friends make it inside, and after we find out the crystals can repair itself after any attack, they start to make their way to the top of the tower. But Molly notices this, and tries to stop them with what else? Pokemon battles. And since the Unknown's abilities basically have no limits in this movie, they can transform Molly into an adult because she feels like she isn't old enough to be a Pokemon trainer. So yeah, Brock and Misty fight Molly, they get their asses kicked, but they are able to buy Ash enough time to reach the top and rescue his mother. But Molly isn't too happy about this, and the Unknowns go apeshit. Also, Entei shows up because, you know, Ash made Molly cry, and he proceeds to lay waste to Ash's Pokemon.
I guess I just don't know what to call you. I was thinking about monster, but I didn't want to insult the cards.
While that is going on, Delia realizes that the only way to end this mess is to have Molly remember her real parents. Eventually, the battle gets to a point where Ash falls off but is rescued by Charizard? Yeah, believe it or not, he saw the broadcast as well and left the valley for a bit to go help save his friend. Mighty convenient that he shows up just as Ash is about to fall to his death. But who cares? Fight scene! And by fight scene, I mean Entei dodges most of the attacks and knocks Ash off. Again! But this time, he is rescued by his friends. And Team Rocket. See, I told you they would have a bigger part later. After that, we get another fight scene. And a much better one in my opinion. But when Entei wins the fight and presses his foot on Charizard's neck, Molly steps in and asks Entei to stop fighting.
Pokemon aren't meant to fight! Not like this!
Nah, just kidding. Instead, Brock, Misty, and Ash try to convince Molly to break out of the illusion she created for herself. And then she accepts all that happened and wants everything to be real again. But with her wanting things to be real again, the place starts to fall apart. So all of them try to escape as the building is going down, and then they reach the hall where all the Unknown are at. After several failed attempts at piercing the barrier, Entei is able to pierce it, but it's not enough. So how do they get out? Molly fully believes in Entei, and with help from Pikachu and Charizard, the barrier is destroyed and the Unknowns disappear. As does Entei.
I'm gonna miss you.
You do realize we'll never truly be apart, right? The gift of kindness you've given me, and the courage I've given you, will remain with us. And that will forever bind us together.
As the area returns to normal, Spencer is able to escape the other dimension, and everything is all good again. Charizard and Lisa leave, Ash and his friends go on the road again, and Spencer reunites with his daughter again, and even brings in her mother. The end! Roll credits. I swear, with the amount of time spent on the story synopsis, I feel like I'm recapping a fucking Metal Gear game. So, how is the story overall? Well, it's pretty good. Sure, it has some problems, like not giving Professor Oak and Delia much to do despite them having a history of Spencer Hale, the Unknowns basically doing whatever the fuck they want with their power, even though they are debatably the weakest Pokemon in the games, and you can't even bring up the argument that we didn't see these guys before this point because the games were released a year before, and kidnapping Delia despite the Unknowns being able to create a Pokemon to fill the missing role of a parent. However, the story still has some good parts to it. For instance, I like the dark tone that they went with, which is kinda surprising since 4Kids usually censors that shit. But a film's story means nothing without its characters, and oh my god, they did a good job with it. For the most part. I may have liked Lawrence III in the last movie, but when comparing the antagonist from the second movie and this movie, I feel that Molly was the better antagonist. Why did Lawrence do the things he did in that second movie? Because he found a Mew card. Why is Molly doing all this? Because she lost her parents. And you gotta remember, this is a child, so she's gonna have a hard time handling something like that at a young age. But she's not an evil kid who wants to take over the world. She just wants to have her family back and doesn't realize that she's doing more harm than good until near the end of the movie. I also really loved Entei and Spencer Hale. With Entei, he cares about Molly, even if he isn't really her dad, and he'll do anything to protect her. Spencer Hale also cares about his daughter and does a lot to make sure his daughter is happy. Remember, until the end of the film, we saw him as a single parent. His wife either left him or disappeared, and that must have put a lot of guilt on him. But despite all that, he still loves his daughter and likely pushes that guilt aside to make his daughter happy. That's really sweet, and the bond these two share I feel was handled very well, and to me, it made the scene where Molly finds out her dad disappeared a much better moment because of how strong their bond was in that opening bit. Sorry about that, chest pains. Let's continue. Ash, Misty, and Brock are also good in this movie, and I love the moments with Team Rocket. With the early movies, these guys were always fun to watch because of their comedic bits, and this movie is no different, especially the lines where they break the fourth wall. As for the other characters, they ranged from decent to, frankly, pointless. But what else did I like about this film? Well, the final fight between Charizard and Entei was awesome, and the scene at the end was also really good. The music was decent, though again, my favorite songs were the beginning and ending. Frankly, the other tracks were just, well, there. But that's about it. Really, the biggest problem I have with the movie is its story, and even then, one could argue that the issues are minor. Overall, Pokemon the third movie, despite its stupid title, is a good movie, and I highly recommend it if you want to see Pokemon with a darker tone to it. So that concludes my review. I'm the Mounty, and next time we meet, I will try to locate the voice of the forest in Pokemon Forever. See you then!